Hello there. I want to kind of talk a little bit about basically generally honing razors with problems, uh, uneven spine wear, warps or twists or whatnot, smiling blades, that kind of thing. First of all, there's a popular, it's popular right now to uh, have microscopes. Even guys that don't have a clue what they're doing are told to go buy themselves a microscope so they can look at their edge. I'll be the first one to admit that if you can see what's going on, then it can help you if you know what you're looking for. But there's a trend, excuse me, nowadays for everybody to grab a microscope so that they can show 100 power or more magnification of their edges, and everybody's looking for these pristine edges that don't have any scratches or anything on them and all that. And when people see one that doesn't measure up to that vision of loveliness that people are portraying, they think, well, that thing, it's not going to shave good. You know what? Just because an edge is absolutely beautiful and pristine and doesn't mean it's going to shave well. I'm sorry, but what it looks like, to a certain point, what it looks like can help you determine whether you have problems in the honing process or not or whatever. But just because that thing's a mirror polish doesn't mean that it's going to shave right. It doesn't mean it's going to shave comfortably. It don't mean it's going to be smooth or none of that. And just because a bevel has some scratches on it doesn't mean that it's not going to shave really nice and smooth. And people are overusing that, in my opinion. You've got people that just started honing, or they've been honing a couple months or whatever, and they're looking at all these pictures on the internet that people are showing of these beautifully perfect edges, technically perfect, and they're going back and they're honing and they're looking at their edges and they can't measure up because they don't have the skill. They don't understand what's going on, or they don't have the stones or whatever it is that person used, whether it's knowledge, technique, stones, or anything else that they use to get that edge. These new guys, they can't get that kind of edge. It's really discouraging, but also you are focusing on what something looks like. Now, I understand that aesthetics, what something looks like, plays a part. But at the end of the day, it's what it feels like on your face that's most important. So, that's just my take on it, but I think people need to back off the microscopes. Get you like a 30 power loop or even a 20 power. You don't need that much to examine an edge and make sure that it's straight. It's got no chips in it. There's not a wire edge on it. That it's not got sawtooth on it. You don't need a 100 power microscope to see that. And you'll be a lot better off as a beginner with something that doesn't show every single nook and cranny in that edge. You'll get better edges if you just sometimes forget and just flip and learn to hone. My opinion. Now, honing razors with smiles, honing razors with twists or curves or bends or whatever to the blade, warps to the blade, whatever, bad hone wear, spine wear, that kind of deal. It's popular now, or it's getting popular now. Every time I see posts all the time when someone says, like I just saw a post recently, and the guy's honing a smiling blade. He doesn't know the X stroke. He's new. And he comes on and he says, I can't seem to get, I think it was the toe that he couldn't get. I can't seem to get it right. I can't get it's fatter on one, the bevel's fatter on one end than the other, and I can't. And immediately people start saying, have you corrected the geometry? Are you looking at the geometry? Well, part of the geometry of that razor is that it's a smiling edge. So you can take that razor and you can set it on a stone and you can grind the living snot out of the spine. It won't make any difference. You're going to have to use a rolling X stroke to get that because it's a smiling blade. And that's the deal on that. Okay, so you can spend all the time you want grinding on that spine. You're never going to do simple X strokes and hone that razor. You're going to have to do some swoops. You're going to have to hone toward a smile in some way, whether we're talking about doing rolling X's or whether we're talking about, hold on a minute. If it's a small smile, if it's not very pronounced, then you might be able to get away. Like, that's a pretty straight one. But even a lot of times you'll see me, let me back this magnification out a bit and move down a hair. A lot of times you'll see me, even on a straight razor like this, when I hone on a straight edge like this even, I don't go just like, I can't get, okay, let's use the darker side, the 1K side. I don't go just like this. You'll see me, let me see. Okay, for purposes of this, you can see this better. I'll put the light back on. But you won't see me do a lot of just this kind of stroke. You'll see me with a heel leading stroke, and I'll go like that. Because even if I keep the edge flat on the stone, I'm honing towards a smile in the edge. There's a reason for that. One of the biggest things that happens to new guys, besides going on a 1K stone trying to set a bevel and tearing up the spine because they don't know what they're doing and they're putting too much pressure on it. One of the biggest mistakes that a new honer makes is they end up with a frown in the blade. Because they're putting too much pressure, they're coming off the edge of that stone with an X stroke, and it's actually flexing the blade as it comes off. They end up with a frown. Because they don't understand pressure. They don't understand what causes that. Okay? So the tendency should always be to kind of hone toward a frown, even if you do regular X strokes. If you watch me, a lot of times I'll come back and do those swooping strokes. A few of those mixed into it because you want to hone toward a frown or toward a smile and not a frown. And that's one. But one way or the other, if you've got a very lightly smiling blade, you can get away with doing that. You can get away a lot of times in a great measure by just doing heel, very, very steep heel leading strokes, like Japanese half strokes like that. But you're still going to have to come in and do some kind of little swoop if it's a smiling blade, or you're going to have to use a rolling X or something like that. It's just the nature of the beast. So now what about warped razors and twisted razors and stuff like that? Well, and a great many times a rolling X will flat out get that, no problem. There's a tendency now, everybody wants to grind on the spine of a razor. Now, there are some razors that are just so far gone that they could use that. But, now this is my opinion. I'm not saying that anybody's doing anything wrong. This is just my preference and my opinion. The majority of razors you get that have a little bit of a twist or a little bit of a curve or whatnot, they don't need you to take them to the stone and grind the living snot out of that spine to level them out on a hone. You can do a rolling X stroke, you can do sweeps, you can hone, and if you're not getting the heel, you can just set your finger there. You don't need anything but the weight of your finger. You don't have to press down or anything like that. But you can just set your finger on the heel, or if you're not getting the toe, you can set your other finger on the toe as you move that thing along the stone, and it's enough to get that. Now people will say, well, why do all that when you can just correct the blade? Well, first of all, you're putting hone wear, you're putting spine wear on that edge. And you're going to, if you hone without tape, you're going to do that anyway. It's part of the way the razor is designed, so there's not a problem during honing. But why put stuff on there that you don't have to when there are other ways to get that razor? And one of the things I would remind you of or kind of tell you about is, okay, say I'm just going to pick a guy. I'm not singling this company out. I'm not saying they're doing anything right or doing anything wrong or anything like that. I'm just using them for, I'm not even saying that they're doing this. I'm just using this as an illustration. Well, then let's just not even pick anybody. Say we have a reputable shaving vendor, and they're selling straight razors. They're selling Raufoss. They're selling Dovo. They're selling Boker. They're selling, okay. A lot of the entry-level Boker or Dovos, they've got a warp in the spine. That's documented. There's hundreds of threads on that subject. They just do. Some of the Ralph Ost are like that too. Almost every brand. People talk about vintage razors, and they say, well, buy a new one. Vintage razors got too many problems. Well, I can tell you right now, a lot of the new ones have got geometry issues from the factory. So the guy that's selling these razors and making them shave ready for you, do you think he's going to take that brand new razor and grind on that stone and grind that spine like crazy when he hones it for you? Heck no, because he knows when you get that razor and you've got a bunch of spine wear on it and you paid $150 for that blade, you're going to complain about that. You're not going to like that. It's a brand new razor. So what does he do? He does a rolling X stroke. He does a swoop. He puts his finger here, or he puts his finger there. He finds a way to put a shaving edge on that razor without chewing up the spine. It's not that hard. You can look at it a couple of ways. You can look at it like this. This is what I tend to look at it for my own personal. I'm not talking about anybody else right now. But why would I want to take a razor and grind the living snot out of every one of them that's got a problem so that I can do simple kind of strokes and get the razor done when I really need to learn these techniques? I need to learn to do a sweeping stroke. I need to learn to do a rolling X. I need to learn how to hone problem issues in razors, because 9 times out of 10, when you get a razor in to hone, or when you buy a razor and decide you're going to hone, okay, you're going to have an issue of some kind. Very, very few of them are absolutely perfect geometry-wise. So that means that 90 out of 100 razors you're going to grind a spine on? Not me. I'm not going to do that. Sorry. Now, if I get a razor that's so screwed up that there's really no hope without that, pretty much, unless, if somebody sends me one, if I'm nice, because I don't hone for other people as a rule, but I have honed for beginners that needed it. I have honed for a friend here or there, but I don't charge, and I don't, sell an edge. That's not what I do. So I might talk to the guy and say, hey, man, I need to grind here. Or because there are that 1 out of 10, 1 out of 1,000, or 1 out of 100, or whatever that you really need to grind on. It really needs it. But most of them don't. I might say, hey, dude, I need to grind on the spine of this razor to straighten it out. You want me to do that? And if he says no, then I'll just send it back to him. But if I got a personal razor, which is mostly, what I do is I find old vintage razors and restore them so that I can shave with them, because this is an old vintage razor that I restored, put core scales on and all that. You guys have seen my razors and what I do with them. If it's that messed up that I can't fix it, I can't hone it if I don't grind on it, then I'm not going to buy it, or I'll chuck it out the door. Because that razor's life is pretty much done to start with. When I get it, if it's that bad, nah, no thank you. So the thing of it is what I'm saying is, especially new guys, okay, and that's my focus, and it's been my focus. I don't care so much, and I care. I like you, and I don't have anything against you, and I appreciate the camaraderie and the fellowship and all of that. So please don't misunderstand what I'm fixing to say. But I don't care about the guy that's been honing for years, that knows as much or more than I do, or whatever. Who I care about is the new guy that wants to learn to hone his razor. Okay, I want that guy to get the best flipping edge that he possibly can, and I want him to advance. You're not going to advance if every razor you get you correct so that the geometry is as perfect as you can get it, and you don't have to learn something like a rolling X stroke, or learn how to deal with really common issues with straight razors. If you take all the challenge out of doing something, then all you're doing is basic stuff, and you're never going to advance, and you're never going to grow. That's just my opinion on it. So, for what it's worth, and please understand, this is my take on things. I'm not knocking anybody or anything like that, but I really seriously want new guys to be able to learn, and learn well. And you know what? Nobody taught me any of this. I messed with razors for months and months that were smiling or warped, and I couldn't get an edge on them. And the only way that I figured it out was I just kept watching honing videos on YouTube, and then I caught one where some guy said, well, I'm using this stroke because of this, and that's what I need to do. I don't want guys to have to search forever and ever and ever and be discouraged over and over and over again trying to hone a blade because nobody told them that there's, mama never told me there'd be days like this. There are going to be days like this. You're going to get a razor, and it's not going to be perfect, and you're going to have trouble, and you need to know how to address that. Not grind the spine away so you can ignore it and go the easy route. You need to learn how to deal with problems when it comes to honing. It'll make you a better honer. That's what I want. I want you to be a better honer. I want you to get blades. I want you to have as much fun shaving with the razors that you put a scalding sweet edge on as I do when I put a nice edge on my razor and put that razor up to my face. That's what I want for you. So, I've said all that I can, and I hope that you'll take it to heart. And like I said, I'm not telling anybody anybody's wrong. That's just my take on it, and those are the reasons why. All right, God bless you. I'll talk to you later.